the streaming. And hello everyone, I'm Dan Lutz and I'm here with
Tank.
and we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all of those that are across multiple dimensions that are looking to enslave us on every dimension that they can, but they have lost. And we're now broadcasting on another umpteen number of dimensions as we expand out. Well, how's it going, Tank? Oh, off. Hello, Tank. Did we lose him yet? Anyway, so I just would like to get a quick announcement, and my emergency is over. You know, at least for the moment. I thank all those that have helped. Some were overly generous, and I do appreciate that. That's kind of the reference to the multiple dimensional thing that Tank informed me that he was informed that we're broadcasting on multiple dimensions, and it came back through, and that's how the donations came in. Kind of interesting, but I'll take it any which way. And we're now moving. Oh, and it looks like Tank has dropped the line, but he'll be coming back from one dimension or another, and we will pick this up on this Independence Day. Well, at least for me, it's Monday. Looking forward to the path of abundance that we're on, taking all these steps that we need to be repositioning everything into alignment of the old dropping away. I'm just watching Trump in Texas in a stadium with 70,000 Indians, let's say Indians who are now Americans that are from the country of India. I don't say American Indians might have a different context, but the Prime Minister Modi from India was there, and the energy is so amazing. How he was introducing Trump to this, and he said, "This is my family." 70,000 Indians in a stadium filled up, and to just for him, really saying that Trump he's leading a worldwide revolution. The words didn't come out that way, but the feeling came across of what he was saying about building up Trump, about what he means to the world. That's one leader from one of the most populated countries on the planet saying that this leader is the transformative leader. That's amazing. It's totally amazing. It's only amazing that we lost Tank also. Well, he was here for a moment. So, this is also called Sometimes Lisa. Maybe Lisa wants to jump on too. I know Lisa was trying to get a hold of me. I tried to get a hold of Tank, and I couldn't get into the Zoom room. I kind of went, I just started getting a couple other things done. But Anyway, well, it does, look like so many things are underway. Let me just cover a couple of topics. Let's say one, we have um, the let's just say in the Federal Reserve world, right? We've always been looking what is happening with the Fed. So they've now come into a point where they're buying back. They're not breaking down. They're not spending down their balance sheet. Meaning they're not trying to build up their own reserves, right? What they're doing there is they're buying up the U.S. Treasuries. So what does that do? It actually then creates more currency in the system, right? Because if they're buying the U.S. Treasuries, that gives the U.S. the ability to go ahead and have more money to do things. So there's the money coming in. Now, of course, this is all vapor money. This is off of all old allocation numbers, and we talk about how money is brought into the system, and how 80% of it from all of these quantitative easings that have come about since 2008, when the trust had basically locked off any money coming into the system. They've been kiting checks. That's one way of putting it. They've been writing a check based on money that they don't have in the account, right? And they passing it around. And they pass and now they're doing that bank to bank. This is what they have been doing. Right? And so when they do a quantitative easing in whatever form, right now we're looking at again the buying of U.S. Treasuries by the Federal Reserve. This means that they're now creating more debt based on what? Yeah, there's nothing there. So it will inflate until pop goes the weasel. And then we have what? We have a situation where that vapor money is gone, right? It's valueless, but what would be left behind? Well, now since there's a manufacturing base, all the people are now fully employed. There would just be now a new asset-backed money. And of course, it's going to cause some disruption, but it's not as though everyone will just lose everything and the bank comes in and buys up everything at pennies on the dollar, the original plan. That's gone. They can't do it anymore. Now the Fed will be blamed for what's going on, and everyone will say, why are we borrowing money from them? Look what they did. Their responsibility. They made this whole system. So that's good. There are a lot of information I'm getting about things happening in the banking world, money fleeing Germany. So is it really happening? We'll see. Talk about some banking issues that may happen tomorrow. Well, Tuesday. It might be 2 days for now, but. Things happening all across the planet. All right, and so I'm just amazed that we're here again. Independence Day, the 21st. Now, of course, we're getting through the weekend. So again, for me, it's Monday, still Sunday for everyone. But by the time evening rolls around, for me, every Monday will be starting on the other side of the planet. So we'll see how things are going to go. I'm very excited, very optimistic. Happy about things. So, well, let's see, what else can we talk about? There is so many things, and of course, Tank has disappeared from the scenes, so I don't know what has happened there. Again, if Lisa wants to come on, or anyone would like to jump on, please do so. We're able to go ahead and get some interesting things happening here with conversations. I'm sorry, I try to juggle, trying to see who's going to be able to come on. As I've been talking with a few people that were talking about coming on. So maybe if they're ready, they're welcome to come on today. If I can pass the link over, maybe they can jump on. Ah, Andrew is back. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, give me a second. The missus is grabbing me some juice. Let me set this phone down.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I just caught your heads up of yeah. Anybody wanna hop on? Lisa, anybody?
Well,
You know,
I can usually wing it for quite a while, but there's so much to talk about. I'm overwhelmed. It's
that's a rarity because usually that's what I hear when I lend my energy to people. They're like, "Whoa, go down, dude. You're intense."
Yeah, it's like I just was watching this rally that's in Texas with Trump and Prime Minister Modi from India, and the stadium was filled with Indians, from India, Indians that are American now, Americanized.
Yeah,
Indians.
what happened?
Oh, it's just amazing energy. It's just over the top. And Moody was basically introducing Trump as, a transformative leader of the world, right? Literally giving him the kudos for what he's doing worldwide. I mean,
wow.
that was just amazing. And everyone's erupting with so much energy. I have a very strong connection to India. My first wife is from India. My two children are half Indian. And so I spent a lot of time in India, and so it's amazing to see, this, and this was in Texas. I didn't know there was 70,000 Indians in Texas, but I think they all showed up for the rally.
That's beautiful, though, to hear. I mean, let's just use a basic example of the whole somewhat recent memory, 9/11 stuff, right? And how the whole hateful narrative rolled out, this group of people versus this group of people to create war, right? Yeah. And then here we are, politely, within a 10, 15 year span later, you've got something that back then would have seemed unheard of. So yeah, I'm grateful to hear about it as well. I'm changing. We're waking up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the world leaders, are realigning themselves. It just, you see what's happening in Hong Kong, which is spreading to China. China, has been in a position to have people go from China to Hong Kong back and forth, and then go throughout all of China, and so they know what Hong Kong's about, right? And so why would they not want? Now, of course, if they say anything there, they could be stomped on, right? But this is something that can definitely come to a point where the people just stand up and say enough is enough. I heard now that their social score software is to the point that someone made a call on WhatsApp inside China while he was at a crosswalk. Yeah, he's just, I think it's Tank. It might be Lisa. Yeah, it's Tank. So, but they came across this crosswalk, right? They started making a call with WhatsApp, right? And by the time they made it across the intersection, they were fined and their account debited. All based upon facial recognition.
From point A to point B in the crosswalk?
Yeah, in the crosswalk. By the time he made it from across they started a call on WhatsApp, made it across the crosswalk, he was fined and debited. I mean, what kind of world, is that? Does anyone want to live in that world? Right?
No, I'll pass.
Yeah, but even, it's what we've experienced in America, in the cities where you have cameras at stoplights that take pictures. Or you went through a red light or a yellow light, and also they dinged you, right? And so here you get a ticket,
license plate, and then they mail you the picture of it all and the ticket.
Yeah, what's the difference? What kind of world is that? I'm sorry. that's not the type of control that the people need to that the government feeds off of the people. You know, the government shouldn't be feeding off of the people. The government should be feeding the people.
Did the people approve that? I mean, because really, the government doesn't have the authority to do anything if the people didn't approve it.
Yeah, well, they keep doing things that they were never supposed to be doing, and they break their own rules. All right, so
this is the movement. This is where the work gets done, right? Not just the pomp and circumstance on stage. It's gathering together all of these different common law groups, right? All these pro-liberty, pro-republic, you know, the National Liberty Alliance, you know, freedom organizations, who apparently have not found common ground to work on, right? So they all remain, they keep their independence because they're free, right? But what, you know, if you just bring all these groups together, which we started working on that tonight, that is how those things change. Because think about this, there are 3,300 counties in total in the United States, right? Each one of these counties has, they are entitled to, you know, a grand jury, they can call it any time, and they have 4 administrative positions that are like, that work for the grand jury to go do investigations, right? And their job is to go point out the wrongdoing or the, you know, injustices that are taking place, you know, that are not being addressed by the court. Because the court is, you know, the Admiralty Court really is a foreign agent on U.S. soil, and they are bound to operate according to the Constitution. Now, they are the ones right now who are in direct violation of their own contract, which happens to be the Constitution. So each one of those positions is a paid position, right? So we were talking about it today, and I'm like, oh, you know, this is something that's already written into the laws. So that means that the money is already there, right? The money is already there, allocated in the trust to pay these salaried positions for these administrators. So imagine we can create, just by appointing these 4, you know, just finding them, and like finding people who want to do it, right? 4 administrators in every county, you know, create a whole bunch of, you know, whatever that equals out to be, you know, 12,000 jobs or whatever, you know, overnight. And those 12,000 jobs that would be, you know, the people's government standing up and doing what they're supposed to.
Right.
And I'll tell you something. I realized today that the other group, right, the group who's been fighting this common law fight, or not I mean, universal law, whatever you want to call it, right, natural law, that they're kind of aging out, right? They're the ones who really understand what it is.
Right.
Like a lot of them are like in their 60s, you know, later
60s,
60s,
70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, right. You know, but like on the young side is in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're worn out because they've been fighting. Now here's what I realized, my revelation today, right?
Yeah.
I've talked to so many of these different guys, as I'm sure you have too.
Yes.
And you'll notice none of them ever really have like, they have a few triumphant stories, but it's almost always like something like defending themselves, right, over some ticket or, you know, some other infraction that they're like, no, but I was able to do this because I'm sovereign, right?
Right.
But they very rarely have like a triumphant life story where it's like everything's wonderful because I'm sovereign.
Well,
like
normally they've lost everything because they were doing this.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
They've been beat up by every organization, harassed by cops and judges and everybody else, right? And you know what? And I realized why. They were all fearing this time right now. When the Great Awakening, you know, actually starts to, you know, push the critical mass to a point where it's like, it's no longer an option as to, these things are not up for debate. These are the laws of the land. And if we do not enforce the laws of the land, then our silence is our consent. This is the way that we have been duped into, you know, thousands of years of contracts of slavery.
Right.
Right. So in this, everyone, we started talking to these different groups and activating these, you know, different courts. But I realized, so because there's a lot of them out there, but they don't really have a strong enough voice, right? Because they're aging out and they're exhausted.
Yes.
So all of the people out there, Andrew Collins, this is you, man. You need to get on this. You asked initially your conversation was, what do we do? Find out where the grand jury is. There's plenty of injustices taking place there in Oregon. Call a grand jury, and you be the first administrator in your county.
I have a question about that. All right,
I have an answer. It could be wrong, but go ahead.
I'm an ex-felon, so I don't even know if I would quote-unquote qualify for being able to do those sort of things.
That is not the case, actually.
Thank you.
You being a felon under a corporate structure, a corporate felony for, some
infractions, statute violation.
Yeah, right. You're still a resident. You're still indigenous to this land. You still have rights. And if you see an infraction that has taken place, particularly you can bring up that there could be an infraction in this sense where they have committed a grievance, a violation of your constitutional rights. I would imagine to be. I don't know, Andrew, but I'm just.
No, you are spot on. Please continue.
my vibe is that there's a violation of your constitutional rights that puts you in that position, and that puts you in a position to be imprisoned or whatever, right? And I'd say don't ever call yourself a felon again. Those are slave terms.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've waited a long time for that liberating. Thank you.
I'm tired of them putting labels on things over nothing, right? The things that they think are, and it's part of the reason why certain crimes just should be more absolute, right? Like we should hang somebody up for treason, right? So that it's clear. Don't do that, right? Like it's things like that. Like what we should. There really shouldn't be much of a question. It's like if there's videos of you and you're running a sex trafficking ring and you're raping kids, like you should die, like probably on the spot, like just to get you out of this world because you clearly misunderstood what you had the right to do.
Right.
Right. And so anyways, but this is how we bring and this is how we change things, right? We need people that are full of energy, and I would say young in spirit. And if you happen to be young in age too, that's great, right? But young in spirit, at very least, where you have the energy and the heart and the ambition, and you're willing to go out and do the work to connect these other groups, right? 3,300 counties in U.S. times 4, I think it's 13,000 jobs we could create, and I am absolutely certain I will have no problem, because Kim and I have talked about how the legal system has to change, right? So I will make sure that project funding gets allocated immediately because it has to happen right now, right? So the second funds are released, we'll have money to make sure that the pay salaries for those groups, and Kim has required that there's at least 2 years salary set aside for those for any company. Like she wants that money set aside, make sure, right? That is coming from her, which is, or coming from the trust rather. So we'll make sure that money's there, it's set aside, and that people can go out and they have steady work where they're actually investigating something that they want to do, right? So now you're waking people up on a much, much larger level, and you're letting the people win. Not letting them. You're giving the people an opportunity to win. You're putting them in charge of their own future, right? And I'm very encouraged by that. I was doing that stuff all day today and yesterday, this weekend, really working on this, to bring this stuff forward and to really go after, the justice of all this. And I'll tell you, here's one of the mistakes that gets made all the time, Dan, and I'm very confident about this too. Whenever this happens in the past, right, now the timing might have been wrong. Now the timing is right. That's one. But also, people would try to be secretive about it.
Oh, yeah.
Got my sovereignty, but the reality is this. Every bit of this needs to be on public display. Absolute, complete public display all the time. And it has to be so loud and so clear, so effective, that no one can ignore it.
Right.
Right? It has to be that powerful. And, I'm always telling our team, I'm like, we have to do everything better than it's ever been done before. And if we're not doing it the best way and someone has a better way, then we need to get them to show us how to do it that way. And constantly be adapting, right? Rather than getting our ego involved, right? It's like, wait, this isn't the best way? What is? and let's find out what it is and let's pursue that in everything, right? But most particularly with these kind of matters with the law, because we cannot allow, this is one of those things where we have to finish this off. We can't let up because there's the appearance of safety, or because say money comes in, and then we.
Uh-oh. There we go. Hello. Tank, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry,
It's okay.
people keep calling me. I'm like, I'm live. Just tune in. But now that we have to finish this off in this sense of, like I say all the time. Look, this whole thing is a horror movie, right? It's like, how did this happen? And in the midst of this horror movie, it was like a romance and an action flick and all these amazing sci-fis, right? And we've been part of all of it. And with the horror flick part, like, we've got to kill off the bad guy completely. So there's no place for them to recover. And from the standpoint of, not that they can't recover personally, and take a different path, they can, and give them that option. But this system of absolute ridiculousness that they're still trying to eliminate 90% of the population.
Right.
And then they haven't even seen the whole plan. And the next part of the plan is...
And they think they're the good guys.
Yeah, I know, right. Like, they're saving humanity. Are you so retarded? And I mean retarded. Like, your growth is so stagnated that you have ceased to develop. Exactly what I mean. Retarded. That you don't realize that, one, you would have got killed off too. Two, there's a carbon dioxide deficiency in the air. Three, we have massive machinery that is making disgusting amounts of carbon dioxide, and your answer is to kill people? Are you kidding? And then four, we haven't even explored realistic and viable options, which are so much less expensive, so much more prosperous. Stop buying into the waste and war system, right? The war is a waste system, right? It's waste, constant waste. You build something up, you tear it down, you can't recover. It takes 30 years for a country to recover. Then when they start to recover, you'll never make up that time, right? That's what it is, and that's what they want. And that keeps us in a maintained state of stasis, of never really making the progress we should. So,
it's amazing that they actually think that they are helping the world, and the CO2 is a pollutant. Just where their minds are, it's like they don't even think about things. They just like take a script and they say, well, this must be true because someone gave it to me that I trust. And that's all that's there. There's no critical thinking involved. There's no ability for them to listen to the opposing side, right? All opposing views are 100% wrong automatically, right? And that way you can't have scientists that counter this information come about, right? So that's not even scientific. The scientific method requires all data to be relevant. You can't exclude everything else. Always it's like the 3,000 scientists all agree that we're going to into global warming, which the 30,000 said no, we're not. So just by the numbers, they're wrong. So we have to really just if we want to use scientific method, that there can't be politics involved in it, and then the politics can't take the scientific data and skew it, which is what they did with ClimateGate. Gather all of the scientific data from around the world on climate and then bring it to one place for safekeeping so they can digitize it and everyone can have access to it, but then destroy that data and say, well, we already have it on digital form. We don't need to keep the hard copies, right? And then tweak the data to meet what they want it to say. And then all the scientists have said, well, our data doesn't say that, or we have our data here. And the politicians say, well, we asked you to send all of it to us. Well, they sent copies.
Right, exactly.
They
All
sent
of it.
copies. They sent Well, we wanted your copies too. Well, what good is that?
I know. Obviously, you lied.
You wanna lie about things. That's what this whole program. That's ClimateGate. So everything they do is all about deceit and lies and doing it from the shadows and compartmentalizing things so that only certain people know certain things.
My particular question is, considering I remember my previous advice that was given to me to kind of hush. My question is it safe for me to stop hushing and use my gift and my voice now? That's what I'm getting at here. I know what I'm up against here in Washington. I spent nearly 4 years on the street as a homeless person, but what I did learn best was people watching and getting involved and seeing what it looks like in the gutter. And what does it look like when, like, I think someone earlier mentioned, I think it was Thomas or someone mentioned in one of the shows that, instead of scurrying past and ignoring them, reach out and at least say hello, give the person a human acknowledgement. But again, the previous question was, is it now safe for someone like myself to come forward and speak, considering I got a mouth on me?
Well, Andrew, I apologize if that's that's not exactly what I meant. I don't want you to be entirely quiet. I just want you to choose your battles wisely. One of the things that happens, right, is that part of this is there's so many things right now that we could prove. If I was just to start unloading RICO lawsuits, right, I have documentation that can prove the wrongdoings of so many things. It can be overwhelming, right? Now, if you've ever seen anybody go into like a case, right, where you're they're trying to get some kind of justice for a wrongdoing, they're trying to use a common law court, right? What ends up happening is like they ask for too much because too much has been taken from them, right? So what happens is they start asking for, I want the judge to apologize to my mom and he, give up the deed to his house. I mean, it gets like very aggressive, right? And so we have to be intelligent about this so that we win the support of the public, right? It's very important because the collective consciousness is what's affecting everything, right? So now, like you said, as an alpha male, right? And you clearly can speak, and that is something without question, I want you to use. I don't ever want you to think that's something I want you to keep quiet. What I don't want you to do is in that place where you are, in those situations, you have people that are in a destructive trance, okay? They are in a position where the numbers have created this collective trance. And there's evidence of this. You could see this with the Democratic Convention. They would be saying things out to them and having them, repeat it back to them. And they were literally putting them in a trance. And then you would have people break out of the trance as they were going to do horrible things to Republicans for no reason, where people would say, wait a minute, isn't this a good thing? Why would we oppose that? Because they're taking away people's ability to make decisions, right? So that would apply to you too, right? Even if you interject perfect logic, right? And you give them all the evidence they need. The fact that you give them the evidence because of the state they're in will actually, it won't make you their friend. It's just going to make them mad, and they'll act illogically because that is mob response, right?
That's exactly what I've been dealing with.
Yeah. So a mob response will justify things because this is what the mob dictates, right? This is why the Romans would have the gladiators come out and kill people, right? And you get the masses, the mob, to cheer, right? And go crazy, and everybody, and the vibration increases around this negativity, and they're all cheering on something that they would never do in their regular life, right? They, or maybe they would, for the most part, wouldn't, right? Like rational people, they don't go to a convention of people that are supporting a political event and pick up big pieces of rock from the highway and launch them into a crowd, knowing they're going to hurt people. Logical people don't take glue and mix it with pepper spray, knowing that you're going to force that pepper spray to blind people, and then talk about it openly. Logical people don't put up signs saying, if you date a white, you're not right. You have been warned. After everything that people have seen happen with the civil rights movement, why would you take the exact same language, change the color, and then think you're not racist because you're white and putting that up there? Why? They have trained white people to hate themselves, right? They have divided the black community, forcing them to constantly think that they're victims all the time, constantly creating a victim, that they need these socialist ideas. That environment, especially if you are, the ink spot in a glass of milk, right? It doesn't serve you. It doesn't make sense to build from that standpoint. Now, in that community, though, there are others like you, right? There are people that see that wrongs have been committed. And putting you in a position where you are calling forth a grand jury, right, which is your right, right, is your constitutional right to call forth a grand jury to point out the grievances that you have, that the government, the judicial system there in Washington is in breach of trust of the people. And that those organizations, including every single court there, they are a foreign agency and they have a contract with us, the Republic, the people of the United States of America, I guess, right? That they have a contract with us. It's called the Constitution. Now, in that Constitution, they are in violation of many things. Now, when you can bring that up and you call forth a grand jury and you actually take on the position of a paid administrator, right? And you're the administrator and your job is to go investigate them, you now become the authority over the judicial system. Now, that authority, you're going to have to be very gentle, very kind, right? You're going to have to be very, very strong and very clear. But you're going to have to be, more than anything, you have to be wisdom. You have to be wisdom. Wisdom is the judicious application of knowledge. It is always important to have wisdom before strength. Because it's better to be wise enough not to put yourself in a situation before you're praying for the strength to get out. So, I want you to speak, but I want you to study the situation first. I want you to make sure that you consider that you have the pieces that you need. And there's many ways to speak. You don't have to just do it there in person. And I want to make sure that your safety is, the first concern that I have, and most particularly because you have a child that you want to get back. So I want you to do that.
Yeah, I moved 2 states away so that I could get my head on straight, get myself squared away, and then go, all right, here's how we do this. We go ahead and, because there's friends down there that are encouraging me to make the move that I did, and then again, get myself squared away and start back at this and say, all right, how do you build a case that proves without a shadow of a doubt, there's a mountain of evidence that CPS, a lot of different people that have been involved, decided to get their hands dirty, and I'm not the only family that has suffered from this. I've got friends that went through it. I went through it myself. Now, mind you, I'm 33. I went from the age of 6 to 18. This is in California. 98 group homes and foster homes combined. I am not supposed to be level of success or this or whatever one might call it. They had me pegged as I was supposed to be in prison by now, in a gang, dead, all the garbage. But thank you very much for the encouragement. It looks like I got a lot of work to do to get my son back.
That's good. But
looking forward to it.
Me too, man. And to be clear, I know, I said, however I said it, give you the impression to be quiet. I want you to know, I don't want you to stand back and do nothing. I just don't want you. Man, I just sense my energy the same way I am is how you are. And I know I'm out picking fights all the time. Now, I don't recommend that for everybody, okay? The reason why I'm doing it is because when I started picking these fights, no one else was. And I couldn't understand why nobody was standing up, because don't you see what's happening? So I felt like somebody's got to, right? Now, in a case like where you're at, maybe that is where you'll end up. But based on things they've already put you through, your experiences are more valuable in other ways. So we have to make sure that your voice is heard and your story's heard. But if you just go out and start picking fights, they're going to say, typical felon, that's how they act. What'd you expect? Now, don't you let them put that on you. You hear me?
Yeah.
Oh no, they are sure as hell not going to set me up.
And that's all I want you to do, man. Just use wisdom. Wisdom before strength.
Thank you. Honestly, I appreciate that. Actually, that goes hand in hand with philosophy, at least in certain reference, the love of wisdom. And again, you were mentioning, it being effective. I understand. Yes, I might have this gift of gab, but again, if it's not effective, I need to start from scratch. Do it again. Start from scratch. Do it again until it is second nature in efficiency.
That's right. And look, and you're the best, knowing how to speak and being fearless and being incorruptible. Combine those things, right? And you really, and then realizing that you are not responsible just for you. See, I saw this happen the other day, right? When this happened the other night when Dan and I were talking. I shared this experience of this young man, right? Of what he said. He was talking about give people the permission to act courageously, right? And I think you quoted this the other night, Andrew. I always forget that woman what she said, but she says, our greatest fear is not failure, but it's success. It's to shine too bright, or it's not darkness, but is our light, and we're afraid to let that light shine. Now, here's the thing that I'll just add my 2 cents to it so I don't mess up the quote. I do love that quote. But as your light shines, right, what happens is your light will extend out from you and it'll touch somebody else. Now, as your light touches somebody else, you are responsible for that person too. Now, I don't mean you gotta take care of their laundry or something, but I'm saying, you're responsible for that. So I just think that's a great thing. We should encourage that with one another. We should all feel that way. If we are going to talk the talk, we want to make sure that we embody it in every possible way, and that we're responsible for. If we're going to take a stand and be something, we don't get to mess that up. This is the one chance. It's the one chance humanity's ever had of liberation. And every other time, look, go back. You go back. We talk about Kim, right? And we say how she's a genetic anomaly that happens every 2,000 years, right? So look at how that genetic anomaly manifested and how it changed and how the manifestation became different. If you look at Eve, and then you go 2,000 years from Eve, you pick up Joshua, the son of Nun. Now, Joshua, the son of Nun, was 30 years old in Egypt. He just showed up one day, out of nowhere. Then, 30 years later, he was still 30 years old. Then, when God, right, allegedly said, Moses, come up the mountain alone, Joshua got up with him. If God told you to come alone, why are you bringing Joshua? Joshua's the one that told him. Every time Moses would go to talk to Joshua, the cloud would ascend, or every time Moses would go to talk to God, the cloud, the pillar of fire or the whirlwind, would ascend on Joshua's head. Then finally in Joshua, the 24th chapter, after they'd gone into Canaan land, they'd conquered the Amalekites and the Hittites and the, Jebusites, all these different groups, right? They conquered everyone. It says, and Yahweh spoke. And it was Joshua who was speaking. And Joshua said, it was me. He said, I'm the one who led you out. I did all this. I'm the one who led you out. And he takes credit for it, right? He takes all this credit. And what happened? Nothing. Nothing changed. Then you had the Messiah come in. Now it's the same one, right? Even we say that is Yahshua or Emmanuel, right? He takes all his time. He educates them. He travels with them. He lives with them. He spends all his time trying to show them, empower them, to show them what's in them. He tells them, I am your friend from this day forward. Love one another. Right? Most powerful thing. He prays to his Father. Says, Father, make them one as you and I are one. Right? He tells them all these things. His whole ministry. Then what does he do? He becomes the sacrifice. Right? And he sacrifices. Then he's buried. Then he resurrects. Then he sends down a cloud. Then he pours out the Holy Spirit. And then he tells them to preach the gospel to the four corners of the world. And the gospel really was the good news. And the good news was, listen, that God was manifest in the flesh. And guess what? He's manifesting in your flesh too. That was the good news. That was what, that, by the way, that's in the scriptures. That's exactly what it said. So that's what, but what happened? They went out to preach the gospel, right? And you had all these people waking up. But then they came back in, right? And they just started taking them out. They started killing them off, right? Because they weren't prepared for that. They weren't prepared for that outcome. They weren't prepared for them to come after them with soldiers, as people are waking up and kill them and make it a crime to say the name Yahweh, and put people in prison who would preach the truth, right? They weren't prepared for that. So now, 2,000 years from them, what happens now? Kim is that same genetic anomaly. Now, what is she doing? She won't let anybody remotely refer to her as a savior or even think that. Why? Because look what she learned. Right now, she's very clear. You are your savior. You will have to change things. If there is going to be a difference, it's going to come from you. Now, she's doing her part, right, to free up the funds and get that directly to people. But she's very clear. This is about us standing up for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, these are contracts that are being proposed to us. And the current contract is, are you going to allow us to commit genocide against all of you? And ourselves, because we're idiots. Right? Are you going to let us to continue to allow mediocrity to be what leads the way? Are you going to allow us to continue to keep all of these great gifts, technologies, curing remedies, while we kill you off systematically, limit your lives, and generally make you the battery source so that we can have a great life? You can have that. You can have that. Right? And then what they're doing is they're trying to gain favor. Now, up where you are, that's what they're doing. They've gained the favor of everybody, like lemmings, who are just bought in, like, yeah, this is all great, right? Abortion is awesome, and everybody should be androgynous. We shouldn't have borders. Why are we reproducing? Straight sex is rape. These are all things they're really saying, right? Now, we have got other places in the country that aren't like that, and we have got to expand the reality, because these things are not up for debate. As much as we might think they are, they're really not. Because at the end of the day, if a baby is born, it's born and it's alive. I don't care how it got here. It's alive. No one in this country has the right to kill that baby. No one, under any circumstances. You don't have the right, because that baby is now an indigenous American national, born within these borders on this land. That baby has rights, and it doesn't even have the ability to speak for itself. So the people have got to speak for it. Now, because of that, when you hear these horror stories from Planned Parenthood, how they have willingly participated to induce labor in unethical terms against the law, they violated the law. They are trafficking organs. They have found loopholes to do this. And a baby will be born alive repeatedly, clearly alive. I just saw a testimony from the doctor. He said clearly alive. And they kill it. Worse than kill it. They abandon it in a broom closet and let it die from depression, sadness, and loneliness overnight. It's a tragedy. That
reminds me. Question in terms of, is there accountability in terms of the heinous, the mass levels of heinous crimes that are going on? Is there actual accountability that's going to take place publicly in the works?
I'm always careful when I think about those things. Because here, let me ask you. You tell me what you think about it. Now, there's 7 billion of us, and there's about 2 million in total of the cabal, Illuminati, deep state, Masons, Jesuits in total. Now, when it comes to accountability, do we really get to say that we were victims? Or are
No.
we just as accountable if we continue to allow it to happen?
That's what I was about to say. It's almost like sitting back and being complacent in a way. Like me and the missus kind of agree when it comes to, there's no point in passing the buck. You're either going to hold yourself accountable and stand as an example, hopefully, and that might inspire others. Like you mentioned earlier, extending your light and reaching and touching others. You then kind of, in essence, are responsible for that. You may not realize it, but that light, that energy, that vibration has possibly influenced that person. So would I want to be responsible for that vibration? Yes. Would I want to hold myself accountable for that, knowing it might change their day and their course of living? Yes. And I think that just, in my personal opinion, takes a different level of self-awareness.
I agree. It's also it's personal accountability. I mean, everything we're experiencing, we are creating, right? So if we continue to think we're wrong by the system, we're victims of this, then we'll continue to be that. So here's the opportunity. I'm giving you the method. This is what you do, right? Go to the National Liberty Alliance. Find another organization like it, whatever it is. I'm reaching out to these organizations. I have people doing this now. Be one of them. Okay, I need help. I can't do this by myself, obviously, right? But what I do is when I find what to do right, I just do right. I would encourage everybody to do the same. When you see what the right thing is to do, go do it. And you know what? Be diligent. Don't be complacent. Be diligent in your search for the truth. Be diligent in finding what is the right thing for you to do. Look for it. And you know what? You know what will happen? The universe will give it to you. And you'll realize, I can do this. And then it'll be so clear. This is what I have to do. Now, right now, I'm reaching out to every one of these organizations. We have a gentleman who was part of the National Liberty Alliance who's writing letters, and we're going to approach every single one of them. While that's happening, the people that are closest in the circle should not be sitting back going, well, that's not really for me. Yes, it is for you. It's for everyone. Because if you are the people, it's for you. Because it requires change cannot happen if the people are not the catalyst of it. We have got to change it ourselves. We have got to say, no, this is not acceptable. We will not consent to these terms. And it's not enough to do it in meditation. Meditation is a connection with an energy in a alternative dimension, a different reality, an astral realm, or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, for everyone who wants to push to the side, like, oh, that's so 3D, right? Because we think we're so enlightened. Let me tell you something. You live in the third dimension. You don't get to, just because you're the dungeon master in your mom's basement playing Dungeons and Dragons, you still got to go work at 7-Eleven, okay? You don't get to 7-Eleven and be like, but I'm the dungeon master. Like you're nobody, right? So if you want to really demonstrate that you understand what it means to be a multidimensional being, to coexist in multiple planes at different times, you're going to have to be the best version of yourself here too. You don't get to just be really impressed. And people have called me and told me, like, I work directly with Source and I do this and I speak to the Chinese elder, queen, empress, of whatever, all these things. Every time they say that to me, if you have to list your curriculum vitae, you know what that means? It means that your conduct, behavior, attitude, words, intelligence, abilities, the expression of those things is not enough for me to see for myself. So you feel the need to tell me who you are. I don't need to tell anybody who I am. You decide. So I'm just saying, all of us, I would encourage everyone to have the same level of accountability for themselves, because when it comes right down to it, we are in a transitional moment. Everything can change right now if you want it to. And it's not enough just to pray about it and meditate, cheer for somebody else. It requires action and accountability. It requires people to think intelligently and not just go off half-cocked and make bad decisions, but to actually consider, what will it take? And Andrew, you might not be the best candidate because of your record, right? And by the way, I'm not saying that's true, but you might not. But you know what? That does not mean that you can't be the one who goes out and gets the ones who are. And nobody else might be there to do it but you. So you might be the only candidate. You might be the only one who can do it because no one else has the courage, the heart, the fire, right? They're all too busy taking Taibo classes, getting ready for their next Antifa standoff.
See, that reminds me of a Bruce Lee quote, actually. There's something to the effect of knowing is not enough, we must be willing. Or something to the effect, willingness is not enough, we must do, or something to that effect. It's like, you can sit back, be complacent, or stand up and say, hey, and like literally not meditating like you're talking about, not praying and giving your energy to some external force rather than, giving yourself the credit to say, okay, hey, I'm in this present moment right now saying enough is enough. Where do I go from here? And then get out there and do it. Reminds me of the saying, closed mouths don't get fed. Don't complain if you're not going to get up and do something about it, folks. And that also reminds me, I'm sure folks are familiar with the little red hen principle. If folks are coming around and saying, hey, the idea is here, I'm here to I want to make bread, but I need help gathering supplies, the harvesting of the wheat, the separating of the wheat and the chaff, the resowing of the seed. And then when the bread and the smell starts to travel around and folks are like, oh, I want some, the natural inclination would be no if you didn't pitch in. It's not rude, it's straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the Bruce Lee quote you were talking about, by the way, actually, Bruce Lee got that from the Bible. And it talks about it's the Father. It's the Father both to will and to do, right? So what that means is when you have the inspiration internally, what that is God in you telling you that the will or the desire to do something and the ability to do it, they're both inspired by God. And that is not separate from you. Because if you're ever going to find God, you're going to find him in you. Sorry.
Definitely got to agree with you. Definitely got to agree. Thank you, by the way. Now, Dan, don't just sit quiet over there, man. Come on. Just smiling and all that.
I'm glad Dan is the way he is.
What I was just going to bring up that I've got an actual itch on my foot, and whenever that particular itch itches, it means there's money coming.
Oh, good.
So anyway, it was just one of those things that was saying, why is it?
This is that familiar itch I'm reminded of.
Yeah, I like when that itch happens. So it's fun to scratch, but well, I'm happy about Independence Day and for things to start flowing. Because we've got so much to do, and we have to take responsibility. We do, and thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, happy Galactic Independence Day weekend. Because I heard it was the 21st, and now I'm hearing some stuff going down on Monday. And hey, happy Galactic Independence Day weekend.
Yeah, and for all those other dimensions where it's actually today, we're celebrated in those dimensions, and we're happy for it to happen everywhere. All we have to do is just keep moving forward. Where we have made such big strides to overcome this, this past shackles that we're just casting off. We don't have time for it. And I'm also, I watched a little montage of Candace Owens, right, from her stuff, and it's like I'm so happy that she's out there doing what she's doing. The 30-year-olds that are getting it right. They were liberal. They were, because what I guess there's a quote. I think it was Winston Churchill that said, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and if you're not conservative when you're an adult, you have no brains.
Yeah, something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
right.
So, well, she's got a lot of brains and she's got a lot of heart. So, we can't let people get shut down because of being conservative. Using that label for what it means. We can't have one side shut the other side down, and that side is really truly exposing itself as to its hidden agenda that has been festering underneath, and it so desperately wants to puss out all over the place, and it wants to be out in the light. But the problem is, as soon as they come out into the light, it just gets shut down. And that's the process that we're going through right now. We got to cleanse it. We got to remove it from everywhere on the planet. It's not just one government. It's the world. And this is really the transformative time for us all to come together in the world. It doesn't mean we have one world government. There's no necessity for that. We are all have different concerns because of geographical regions, ideologies, height, weight, color. It doesn't mean that we have to be divisive amongst one another. We just have to keep looking.
Just because we're different means nothing, man. There's nothing wrong with being different.
Focus on where we're the same. We want to protect our children. We don't want to be eaten. We want to be in direction of our own happiness, what we want to go out and do. We need to pursue our own happiness. Doesn't guarantee our happiness. That no one can be put in place to guarantee someone's happiness, or guarantee an income, or guarantee something is going to be put you up above someone other. The divisions. We can't let that happen. We just have to look where we're all the same and what we all want.
You know what?
Yeah, drawing lines.
I would say, I always hear people trying to put this right. I always try to make us equal. I always try to make us the same. My personal feeling is like this: it's our diversity that actually unites us. There are certain core principles that we all can agree on, right? Look, don't kill the babies. Can we all agree not to kill the babies? I mean, really, is this really a discussion?
I agree.
Because if you think one of the options is, well, I think we should be allowed to kill the babies, and even when the babies are born alive, and they're operating separately from the mother, if you don't think that baby has the right to life, and that you have a responsibility to take care of it, you're not human. You're not human. There's something wrong, right? Or you're in a trance, or something's off, because that's just not human. There are things that all humans agree on. Now, one of the things humans should agree on is, I love that people are different. Can you imagine if everybody was just like you in every way? Our diversity is what makes humanity so beautiful, so incredible. Everybody has, basically almost everybody has 2 eyes, a nose, 2 ears, and a mouth. And you'll go your whole life, see millions of people, and never see anybody that looks just like you. How amazing is that? That's incredible. That's diversity. That's a difference between you and me, and that I am a unique, individual person, human, not person, human, right? And that's amazing. I love that I get to be that, right? And people need to be comfortable first with who they are before they're worried about who somebody else is. And then once you get comfortable with who you are, then you can go and explore the amazing qualities that other people have. And that's beautiful. That's an amazing experience and opportunity we have all the time. Diversity should never be so terrifying, right? When diversity becomes, okay, this collective over here is getting together to try to take us down, that's a problem. That's a problem. You shouldn't even want to do that. Why would you? Why do you want to hurt me? Why do you want to hurt my family? That's not human. Now, once you are acting that way, because it's not even just human, it's not even universal, galactic. It's because galactics, for the most part, they're not feeling that way either. They're not looking at consuming others that way. Now, I mean, I guess some are, but for the most part, we all want to be safe. We all want to be loved. We want to be able to love. We want to feel that it's okay for my kids to go outside and play, and you want that too. You know what? And I want that for you too. No matter who you are, if you're diametrically opposed to even with the cabal kids, right? Oh my gosh, I want their kids to be safe more than they do because they've been lied to too.
Yeah, every kid deserves a healthy, safe future, man.
Yes.
Well,
and we can have that.
You know,
it starts with us.
Yeah, I agree. You know, one of the things is the divisions that they try to sow between us. I mean, I was conservative-minded my whole life, as far as I know. You know, it didn't mean I didn't love and all these things that they would say against the conservatives, right? And I always saw that there was a side I was against, but it was never the liberal side. You know, it had nothing to do with what the topics of being liberal was, or anything. You know, I would say that what we're against, you know, are the ones that are trying to put us against one another, the ones that create those divisions, and it all came.
Reminds me of them. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
And it all comes down to it, at that time, even way back then, I labeled it, you know, the bankers, the Illuminati. You know, I said that's the problem that we're in. This system has been created, you know, and we need to focus on that and solving that problem, not, the even the abortion rights. You really, you know, if you're really taking a stance against the people that if you can know when a child is actually alive, do you agree to kill it? That was what I would used to say. If you knew exactly when the baby was alive, would it be okay to kill it? And now we know that they're okay with it even after birth, when it's outside the mother and breathing and beating heart, that they're okay with that. That's wrong. You know, and everybody, for the most part, agrees with that, except for the ones in the media and the politicians,
and the ones who would profit from it,
and the ones that are profiting and have been profiting off of the sales of these things. You know, just the breakdown that now you find out how much a baby is worth. I mean, it's being sold out of the abortion clinics for like $62.50, but they resell it and make, you know, thousands, if not tens of thousands. You know, $325 a part. You know, this part
black market sales and stuff. Yeah,
it's not even black market. This is out in the open. This is here. Go to the website and order your parts. You know, stem cells, and you know, just I mean, it's just remarkable. You know that this industry exists and it's been hidden. Right? People don't understand that it's as big as it is. You know, when they keep showing Hillary Clinton associated with Evergreen, the shipping company, containers, Evergreen containers. What's in the containers? Vast shipping lines. What are they shipping? How vast is this? You have millions of people that are going missing every year. What's happening to them? You know, so people don't know what it is. We've been kept down, downgraded in our understanding of what reality is. The people in the know, the in-click, they have a power vice lock on the system because of blackmail, and the only way to rise in the system is to get more blackmail material on you. It's designed to keep people in power, and the people keep the rest of the people as sheeple. No more. It's over.
Yeah, no more. Enough's enough.
So now, that being said, as we've been talking about now for a couple of months, this is about solutions, right? And everybody who tunes in to hear what the status is with the funding and this, that, and the other, you know, I get that. I get it. And that's fine. The money does have to come in, and I acknowledge that. But, and you know what? And everybody's got a job to do, right? So that's the job that Kim has been working on. Now, let's just say Kim comes through. Are you ready to play your part? Because with every possible odd against her, she's pulled off her part. But I'll bet you so many of us were so focused on her doing her job that most of us haven't really thought about what we have to do next outside of our random plan that by now might even be outdated. So really think about it, and I really recommend it because I do think we're in that next step forward. And one of the ways I would recommend, no matter what you're doing with your project, with your, you know, whatever, your invention, whatever it is that you want to do next, make the time to make sure that you're involved in the people's government. Because by not being involved as one of the people in the people's government, you turn your authority over, you turn your freedom over to others. And just because you spent a lifetime thinking that's normal doesn't make it okay now. Because now we should know better. Or I hate that word should, but let's say now we can know better if we want to. We can do better if we want to. You know, these things are not even up for debate. Life is life. And there is no life more precious than a baby. A baby can't defend itself, can't speak for itself, can't do anything for itself. So we're just going to continue to allow that to go. Now, this might require a definition of when does life really begin, because you know the tribes say life begins at conception, right? So it might require a new definition. Now, maybe we're not there yet, but I'll tell you what, we can stop this immediately. There should be an injunction on the existence of Planned Parenthood based on their conduct. They should not be allowed to, and everything they do should be videotaped. It is abominable. They are a group of serial killers right now. I have interviewed and talked to people about this who have worked at these clinics. This is not a one-off, right? Like, oh, one time this happened. This happens every day in every clinic in the world. They abort a baby that they say is 15 weeks and it's really 30 weeks, and the baby is alive. And they allow it to die, sad and alone, from starvation or one other thing. Just they ignore it to death. Now, when someone gets so cold, I mean, because you just had this abortionist, and he had 2,200 fetal body part remains at his home, right? Now that is a collector. That is a man who is a serial killer, and serial killers like to relive their experiences when they kill somebody.
That's not a man. That's a monster.
That's right. So
That's
he's
not
got
a man.
20,
A man wouldn't do that to a child.
So he's got a trophy case of all the bodies that he took, right? So he knew they were alive. That's why even with these, even the nurse who gave the testimony, and the abortionists, right? They were videotaped, or the guy who videotaped it. Now, where do we live that you are prosecuting the person who blew the whistle instead of the murderer? Because when you have people in prominent position in corporate organizations that have made everyone believe that abortion is about a woman's choice. A woman has a choice constantly. She has a choice of whether or not she is going to have sex with somebody, who she's going to have sex with. Those are choices too. Whether or not she's going to use protection. Weren't those all choices? Why don't we talk about those choices? So then, say 12 weeks. Roe versus Wade gave you 12 weeks. they're trying to act like we're attacking Roe versus Wade. I'm not. I'll give you 12 weeks. You know what? And I'll take it a step further. If someone didn't have a choice, if a woman was raped and her choice was taken away, she has the choice not to have that baby. I certainly agree. But she does not have the choice after a certain time. That you have not, and some would argue you don't have a choice at all. But I'll give that 8 weeks. 8 weeks is more than enough time to make a decision like that. More than enough time. Before
That life deserves a chance.
Right. If you keep that baby in your stomach and it's viable, you have made a choice already. Now, the choice you make next, if you change your mind, now your choice is completely different. Because now the choice is, am I a murderer or a human? Because that's a difference. Now, people might not like that, but that's just the way it is.
You know, Tank, you know, I'd like to have research done on something that's kind of esoteric, metaphysical, as to when does the soul enter the body. And
Bingo.
we can measure when it leaves, by weight. When do we know that the soul enters the body? And then do we then have that discussion as to, okay, can we now remove it? Even, at a time, whether it was not by consent, sexual intercourse. But, when does that, soul enter? And say at that point, you cannot abort it. I mean, maybe under a life and death, whether the mother is going to live or not. That is something we can still have a debate about that. But for me, it's like, when does the soul enter the body? I don't have an answer to that, but I know it's not when it comes out and it's already born. I felt the presence of my children while they were in the womb. I had conversations with them. And now,
Well, I knew Armand was on his way 8 weeks after conception.
Yeah, I knew that but when I had a son, and the first time around, I knew instantly that it was a boy. I knew that my daughter was instantly a girl.
Well, I know the Maori tribes, which are one of the 5 original tribes, and I spoke to Chief Charles, a month ago, and he told me that the way, he was talking some ancient, kind of secrets kind of stuff. He said that life begins at conception. When you have that long pathway that the semen makes there and connects with that egg, and the egg accepts that, as a, it's embracing it to bring forth life.
I'm in agreement with that. I was just pointing for me, the scientific man. I'm an engineer, my base, education, engineering. So I go by science. I have a foundation of understanding things. A plus B equals C. Well, I want to know, when does the soul enter? I think it happens at conception. So, but I'm willing to basically, have that research done to say this. When does it come in? And that's what we have to have the discussion about. Because
so that way, that hard evidence is there.
Yeah. So that.
And by the way, anybody out there who wants to propose that as a project, please do, because I would love to fund that.
Yeah, get the research together, get the numbers together, get it all together, guys. I know that those of us that are actually doing this, like Tank, Dan, Lisa, myself, a few other people, Thomas, Kim. I know we're not the only bright brains out there. That's, pardon my French, that's BS.
That's English.
Yeah, I don't think that's French, by the way.
Yeah, it's English. BNS is
yeah, it's English.
Sorry, I censored myself for the last second.
Pardon my French, but pardon my French because I don't use it. So
I'm going to abbreviate it instead.
Yeah, no, but at the end of the day, my point in saying all that, I wasn't really trying to bring up abortion again per se. I'm just trying to say it's not an argument of what life is, right? As far as, there's an argument about like what it means to live, right? Because a lot of us, we just kind of go through the motions, right? But as far as what is viable opportunity to have experiences, that's not up for debate. What's not up for debate is how many genders there are. We don't get to just decide that there's also this, and this, right? Because we're drugged up, from our vaccines, which is causing gender dysphoria, because they're putting a complete male genome in a woman with the vaccines, and a complete female genome in a man. So it's causing all types of gender dysphoria when they go into puberty and they start developing. So now we're going to say because you poisoned me, that's not okay. We can't let them poison us. Is the point, right? We don't get to say now. They're trying to say they can do gender reassignment as early as 3 years old. 3-year-old can't decide whether or not they want apples or carrots, let alone decide what gender they are. And my God, please don't ever try to make a 3-year-old make that decision, because a 3-year-old shouldn't even care. There's nothing in their world other than whether or not they should be standing up or sitting down. They should matter of their gender.
That's ridiculous. 3 years old? Man, my goodness, man. I know I'm not the only parent that thinks like this, like yourself, Tank, and a few others, but first and foremost, a kid under the age of 5, for the most part, has not an effing clue what the word sex has to do with. They're still exploring their own physical being as kids and children do, for goodness sake. Half of them are still being potty trained, and they want to pull this crap?
Look. So, and that's the point. Now, these are things that a logical mind, anybody, not even a logical mind, logical heart, innately, we know these things are wrong. We know it's wrong. We know it's wrong. Like nobody has to tell you, not to beat up an old lady. Nobody has to tell you that. You know better. You just know better.
No one has to tell you if you're a boy or a girl. You kind of figure it out pretty quickly, and you don't have to be questioned about it.
And you know what? And I don't doubt that there is anomalies, and I'm not against that. But that happens. I acknowledge that too. Like I acknowledge that happens. But you can't impose that. Like, when someone is going through, and they actually are gay, it's very hard because they're being told that they have to be straight. That's hard. I can imagine that's very hard. Now look what's happening. We're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing to kids. They're making it. They had the nerve. They had the nerve to post signs that said straight sex is rape. Are you kidding? How could you? If I put up there that gay sex was rape, my gosh, I would have got beat down with Tybo punches by the Antifa mob, right? Like these things. There is a right. There's things that are just innate in all of us. It is what the Bible calls powers latent in man. We know this, right? Within us, we have the ability to bring forth life. But it requires that we come together. Now, if that's not a principle that God put in all of us, that we can see plainly and obviously, it is so clear. That is how creation happens. So when they're trying to keep us from each other, when they're trying to keep us divided, what do you think their intent is? Their intent is to kill us. So that is it. It is us and them. Now, as far as us go, as far as I can tell with them, they're fading out, falling apart, dying off. They have no money. They've been taken out. Now, are we awake enough yet to go do something about it? Are we awake enough to go take a stand and say, I'll be the administrator? You know what? Is anybody calling a grand jury? No, I'll call one. Because
the minions are turning on them too. The minions are turning on them and everything, man.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with you, Tank, in terms of I don't really know the first thing about all this. I'll be honest, I have no problem admitting I'm quite scared shitless. But I think this would be a really worthy challenge for me. I've got experience with anybody that knows anything about fitness. Those of you that know what it takes to be in competition, like say bodybuilding, fitness, martial arts, and what some of these people do in terms of dieting down the harsh restrictions they put on their body. Well, in terms of inner awareness, I have no problem taking on this challenge. If I've learned anything from my years in fitness, it's take a challenge head on. There's only so many angles it can stop you from. There's always, where there's a will, there's a way. And I know my willpower is pretty damn strong. I just got to do the research, and yeah, this is scary, awesome.
Man, I'll tell you something. A long time ago, I was told, if you want to understand God, look at the human body. Okay. Now the reason why is, the only account we had really of where God showed up was up on top of Mount Sinai, and he transformed into a tabernacle, and that tabernacle correlates directly to your body. You can look at your body if you have a passion about fitness, right, which I can empathize with, right, and you look at that body. I'm telling you, the mysteries of the universe will unfold in front of you the more you understand the human body. So that's a good place to start. If not more.
That actually reminds me in terms of an example, like, all right, the neurons between both sides, the separate halves of the brain, right? And that some folks, they say you can't multitask, and that, some folks, you can't learn to do that. I beg to differ. I've looked into it, done some research, done some digging, and it is very possible for individuals to develop the neurons between, separate sides of the hemispheres of the brain to where you can learn to use both sides of your brain. As far as I'm concerned, in my own personal opinion, I believe that every individual, once maybe it's through visualization or whatever, you set a goal, you get it done. And don't stop until you're there. If you have to obsessively repeat the goal in your mind, whatever means to an end, get it done.
Yeah, I agree. Anything's possible. We're not limited. When a baby is born, the hemispheres of the brain are not separated yet. And they used to say that, a baby's mind was inferior because of this, right? But a baby learns like 30 times faster than an adult. And a baby has no separation. It doesn't have any concept of past regrets or future expectations. A baby is perpetually in the moment. Now, your center of power is always in this moment. Anytime anything ever happened to you, it happened now. In the moment you were in. It never happened, it didn't happen in the past or in the future. In that moment is when you made a difference or chose not to. If you were ever going to do something, it was in this moment. Now, when you can be present in every now moment in your life, you will realize that you are perpetually creating the experience that you want to have based on what you think about, what you are about. Now, that is physically proven with the double split test, right? Because all possibilities are always happening. They observed it. When you had the scientists observe these protons flying down this tunnel, exactly what he expected to happen happened. Sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right, then they hit the wall. When they removed the expectation, the only other factor, the human expectation, the human thought, that's all they had to remove, and they just videotaped it, they saw every time that the protons literally, they went left, right, and hit the wall every time. Meaning that there was constant creation of alternative timelines and possibilities, and all options are available to us at all times. And it really came down to, the neurological response or the expectations, whatever's being released from the brain, to ricochet in the universe, however they describe it, right? They basically dictated. At the end of the day, what I know is this: what you think is going to happen is what's going to happen. So, and sometimes we're not honest with ourselves about what we really think is going to happen. We expect to fail. We expect things not to come through. That's why it keeps happening.
Yeah, that's like, you become what you think about. If you're going to focus on, oh no, the world's cramping on me, well, don't be surprised if the world keeps cramping on you. Or you can say, no, I don't agree with this, but two, I'm not having this. I'm not going to let this external thing influence me. I'm not going to allow myself to be influenced by this and taking that personal accountability into your own hands and standing in that, standing up in that and saying, no, this is not going to fly, and doing something about it. Or you could be like a lot of other people, just, oh, I'm going to give my power away. Too many people give their power away and don't believe in themselves enough. I've seen it on, various levels on the street. All the a couple gets out of a brand new Lexus and they're nagging at each other over such trivial things. They've got all this prestige, yet they're bloody miserable. They don't believe in themselves. It's like, wow, come on. So fake.
Most things,
human, come on.
Most things go your way. Believe it or not, if you were really to look at the day, how today went, and every day prior, most things go your way. If you're honest about it. The sun comes up, things already started out right. That didn't have to happen. You opened your eyes, you could see, you took a deep breath, you're just able to breathe, you don't even know how. Most of the functions of your body are involuntary. They're just happening. But they're all you. Things are going your way all the time. But where we fail is the 5% of the time that we're conscious. We spend so much time focused on the minuscule things that don't go our way. It prevents us from appreciating how amazing our life really can be and is, and what our potential is. And that's part of their plan. Yes, that is part of a clandestine society that exists all around us that is, enslaved us. But do you really want to stand before, the judgment seat or whatever it is for you and tell God, look, there was only 7 billion of us, but they put fluoride in the water, so I couldn't overcome it.
And that sounds like an excuse.
Right. These aren't excuses. These are things that are happening. So, consider perhaps the reason why they're happening is because we put them here. Because we allowed them to be here. And because we allowed them to be here, maybe it was so that we would have this opportunity where humanity is allowed to transition and we get to stand up. We get to know what it feels like to be part of the change. Maybe that's why we did it.
Yeah, maybe we got tired. Yeah, maybe we got tired of saying we wanted to see the change and we decided to be the change.
Played out line. Everybody's always using that one. But you're right.
Be the change that you want to be.
Yeah, such a cliche old saying, huh, man?
I'm so allergic to all all catch terms. It's like speaking truth to power. Man, I heard Cory Booker said that. I won't even say it. I'll never say it again. I'm like, you are not speaking truth to power.
I want to speak power to truth.
Yeah, okay. I want to be the truth speaking.
Yeah.
That's what I desire to be. I want to be an embodiment, a personification of what it means to be powerful, to be kind, to be love. I'm not trying to act like anything. I'm not trying to act loving, act kind. I am kindness.
Yeah. Where's your script for that?
I'm a living example of kindness. I am walking, breathing, extending vibration and compassion.
It is. That is exactly right. Look, you are an expression of God. Right? Now, you are, to start with, you're an expression of God's love because that's how you came into the world. Two people made love. And the byproduct of that was you. So what does that make you? Love.
Love.
Hey.
Right. It takes two to tango. Well, in this case, it wasn't the tango; it was the love dance. And don't be surprised if at your core you're made of love. What a surprise!
You're also the tango. Yeah. All right. So that's all I got there.
All right. Oh, I literally just sent Tui a message. I said, hey, do you want to come on?
Yeah, Dewey, where are you?
Yeah. Hey, Dewey.
I love that dude's vibration and his energy. it's such a beautiful, happy light. It's like a warm, fuzzy hug.
Warm, fuzzy hug. Just hearing that makes you uncomfortable.
I know. Yeah. It's I'm a hugger. I love to hug, right? So so now if I go and hug Tui, I'm gonna go. Oh, is this a warm fuzzy hug?
No. Chewbacca.
If he looks at you and starts, I'm gonna die.
we gotta have Tui watch Star Wars. I feel like he probably doesn't appreciate it. Yeah.
That'll be good.
Well, anyways,
I guess we're good anyway. So maybe tomorrow Tui can come on. Hey Tui, we miss you. Come on back on.
Yeah, we miss you, man.
take it easy from Fiji.
Yeah, see, I'm already in Fiji. I got my background set.
All right.
All right,
All right. Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. Always appreciate it, Dan. Thanks as always. And
thank you.
Everybody have a great night.
Yeah,
Later, guys.
And thanks everyone for the help that you gave. And be sure to give us positive comments, thumbs up, and subscribe and share. It's important. Bye-bye, everyone.